rescue operations work? Let's listen to Captain Jobert Tolentino, Jr.
Good day, everyone. It's a great honor to be invited as one of the speakers for this momentous event. And given the topic of making rescue operations work is um, is one of our daily daily activity. But to make that operations not only work but be effective, it starts before the disaster strikes. So your effectiveness and your operations to be effectively working means you must have done your homework. You must have done your post activities, your pre activities, and other post activities from different disasters that you have worked on or studied. Meaning, for you to be very effective, you should know what you should have learned from previous disaster operations. Meaning, it starts from your training and from your preparedness. So it works way before the disaster operations. So for us to really be effective working in disasters, we really have to earn the skills. We really have to earn a lot of preparedness. Now, you have trained your personnel, you have trained your teams. Now comes the community. You should also train your community and prepare your community so that whatever disaster strikes on them, the operation will go on a smooth and orderly manner, because even the community is prepared on what they are going to do in times of any disaster that might strike them. So again, from to make our disaster response operation really work, we really have to prepare. Because if we don't prepare, then we're preparing to fail. So we don't like um, rescuers being rescued during disasters. During disaster operations, we are rescuers. We should be the ones doing the rescue. We should never be, as much as possible, become victims. So for that to happen, prepare your teams, train your teams, and be the hand of God once a disaster strikes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Captain Jobert B. Tolentino. Jobert, KCR of Disaster and Emergency Responders International, also known as the and as a talk or his guide, making rescue operations work. For now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall give you our next personality in the field of government. And he will talk on building partnership between communities and the MMDA to mobilize local people for disaster preparedness. Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Danilo Lim. General Danilo Lim. May we know if the good general is in, please? Any advice from the technical man? All right, so we still have to wait for a few minutes before General Lim shall be able to join us today. Now, let's start. Oh, that's Jobert. Brigadier General Danilo Lim. The topic is building partnerships between the communities and MMDA to mobilize local people for disaster preparedness.
Ma'am, I think Dr. Sheila Quinco is a representative of General Lim.
All right, Dr. Sheila Quinco is the representative of Brigadier General Danilo Lim. So may we have, please, Dr. Sheila Quinco. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Sheila Quinco, representing Brigadier General Danilo Lim, MMDA Chairman. The topic, all right, building partnership between the communities and the MMDA. Is Dr. Quinco in, please? Dr. Quinco, are you in? All right, so, okay, so maybe call on our next speaker then. The next one is a personality in the field of academia, and he is a university president. Yes. The topic is integrating disaster risk reduction and management in the university's academic program. And we know for a fact that the university has so many programs in its academic program on disaster preparedness. And this is the opportunity for us to listen to none other than the distinguished president of the Bicol University, Dr. Arnulfo Mascareñas. Dr. Noli, please. Yes, Arnulfo Mascareñas is the Bicol University president on his second term. And he'll talk on integrating disaster risk reduction and management in the university's academic program. Dr. Noli. Dr. Noli is a holder of a master's degree and also a PhD degree. His Doctor of Philosophy degree is in community development. And his master's degree is in rural sociology from the University of the Philippines. He also finished his BS Agriculture Agronomy from the Central Bicol University of Agriculture. And he achieved the highest rank of Professor 6 in 2012. Dr. Noli is a consistent honor student from elementary until his graduate studies, graduating on top of his class. Likewise, he was a recipient of several scholarships in the past. the PFM COCOFED Scholarship Grant. He was a USAID Scholarship Grantee and a PhilRise Scholarship Grantee. And because he obtained the highest grade point average, he was inducted to UP Los Baños' Gamma Sigma Delta Honor Society, as well as to the Phi Kappa Phi International Honor Society in 1991 and 1994, respectively. This is his second term as president of the Bicol University. He was reappointed. And prior to his becoming a president of the Bicol University, he worked as field research aide with the Bicol Consortium for Agricultural Resources, Research and Development, or the BCARD, and as Research Assistant 6 at the Southeast Asian Regional Center for Graduate Studies and Research in Agriculture, or the CIRCA. So it is obvious enough that the forte of our president of the Bicol University is research. In the university, before he became the president, he was director of BU Research and Development Center, director of the Commission on Higher Education Regional Research Center, dean of the BU Graduate School, and director of CHED's Continuing Education Program in concurrent capacity, and as assistant to the president and development and university planning officer from 1995 to 1999. And I'm happy to announce too that when I was dean of the graduate school of the Bicol University, Dr. Noli was my planning officer. Yes, he's so steeped on research. And because of his forte, the research area, this catapulted him to the top position in the academe. He provided leadership to more than 15 research projects on climate change and disaster risk reduction, food safety and quality assurance, socioeconomics, policy studies, impact evaluation, supply chain analysis and value chain analysis, with most of them externally funded by the PICARD, the PIDS, the FAO, or the Food and Agriculture Organization, the DABAR, and World Fish. And in all these research projects, he made it a point to involve all faculty members of the college. Aside from being a researcher, he also published technical papers, not only locally, but also internationally, on various topics like climate change, disaster risk management, value chain, and selected agricultural commodities and impact assessment. He was very active in extension and consultancy engagements, working in remote barangays and assisting municipal LGUs to prepare land use plan and project feasibility studies, including the implementation of development projects. He was also consultant in development works, particularly the FAO, the United Nations, the World Fish Center, the Windrock International, the Land or Lakes International, and German Technical Cooperation Agency. And because of all these sterling qualifications, he was the most outstanding alumnus of the Central Bicol State University in Agriculture and the most outstanding alumnus of the College of Public Affairs of the University of the Philippines in Los Baños in January 2016. And of the Alumni Association, he was also awarded as the Alumnus Award and the most outstanding CEO Global Education Award in 2019. UNESCO likewise recognized Dr. Mascarenhas and gave him the honor as the outstanding educator in 2019. And when he obtained his successful re-evaluation of his term as the president of the Bicol University for the second term by the Board of Regents, he was given an outstanding rating of 97% for his sterling performance. My friends, I've given you the profile of our speaker, Arnulfo M. Mascarenhas, SUC or SUC President 4 of the Bicol University in Legazpi City, Region 5, Province of Albay. And now, shall we have Dr. Noli to give his insights on integrating disaster risk reduction and management in the university's academic program? Let me see. Yes, I'm getting a call. All right, so while waiting for Dr. Mascarenhas, may I give you the MMDA presentation? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome once again the MMDA presentation. Goodness.
has the authority to exercise regulatory and supervisory functions in planning, monitoring, coordinating, and implementing metro-wide services. MMDA also serves as the chair of the Metro Manila Disaster Risk Reduction and Management
Technical glitch.
which is designed to respond to life and property-threatening situations caused by storms and disasters. The Metro Manila Emergency Volunteer Corps is also in place to strengthen the capacities of local government units and communities in mitigating, preparing for, responding to, and recovering from the impacts of disasters. MMDA is continuously enhancing its disaster management capabilities total of 8 DREPSOS units are strategically located close to high-risk areas in preparedness, and response capacity of all stakeholders. The continued success of the event is a result of having full and active participation of stakeholders from the national and local governments, the private sector, non-government organizations, and the general public. The MMDA Public Safety Division, or the MMDA PSD, also implements the Community Hazards Information and Disaster Education Program. Under this program, several trainings and orientations on disaster risk reduction and management are conducted. The Earthquake and Landslide Search and Rescue Orientation Course, or the ELSEROC, for instance, is a program that aims to teach basic skills in post-disaster scenarios such as safety, search, rescue, and retrieval include basic high-angle rescue techniques, disaster preparedness orientation course, basic emergency responders course, flood incident response and safety training, and the crash vehicle extrication training. The MMDA also extends its assistance to other local government units across the country. Some of the recently conducted missions were providing rescue personnel, emergency vehicles due to volcanic eruptions that occurred in Albay, Bicol, and Talisay, Batangas. Other humanitarian missions and rescue and relief operations conducted in the past were in response to the following calamities and disasters. Tropical Depression Usman in Camarines Sur and the 6.1 magnitude earthquake in Porac, Pampanga last 2019. 6.5 earthquake in Ormoc City deployed 12-man team last July 14 to 29 of 2017. Typhoon Lawin at Kalinga Province last October 23 to 28, 2016. A mercy mission in Tacloban after the onslaught of Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2016. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Nepal last May 2015. 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Bohol last October 2013. And 6.9 magnitude earthquake in Negros Oriental last February 2012. The MMDA also implemented the Estero Blitz program, which aimed at cleaning and declogging Metro Manila's major waterways to maximize the conveyance capacity, thereby minimizing the risk of flooding in vulnerable areas in Metro Manila. The communities were actively involved in the dredging, regular garbage collection, declogging, dredging, and desilting activities. The MMDA has also been conducting continuous cleanup operations of the Metro Manila waterways as part of its regular function. These initiatives are ultimately aimed at encouraging the communities to put up necessary preventive measures to reduce risk of flooding. This brings me to my last slide, just to share a few initiatives in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The MMDA has been in close coordination with the Metro Manila LGUs to facilitate the return of repatriated OFWs and locally stranded individuals, as well as to ensure the proper disposal and cremation of COVID-19 fatalities. The MMDA, as the chair of the MMDREAMC and the NCR Regional Task Force for COVID-19, also led the formulation of the Rehabilitation and Recovery Plan for NCR. This has been formulated through several consultations with the Metro Manila LGUs and key stakeholders. The RRP for NCR lays out the rehabilitation and recovery strategies needed to mitigate losses, the transition to the new normal. That ends my presentation. I hope that I was able to impart knowledge on establishing partnership at the community level and capacitating them to be self-reliant yet collaborative in reducing and managing the risks of disasters. On behalf of Chairman Danilo de la Puslim, thank you so much and stay safe always.
Hello, there is a request, general request from our participants. If we can have a replay of the video, because apparently they missed so many parts of your interesting presentation. Can we do that, please? Tom, can you help?
I would like to suggest if we can do that after listening to the next speaker, because the technical...
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, Dr. Mascarenhas is already here. So Mona, is Dr. Mascarenhas already here?
Let me check. So let me check. So we will have Dr. Sheila Gail S. Quincos once again, replay.
Yes, because there's a request from many participants that they missed so many things. And it's a very important presentation.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Let me express my gratitude to the United Nations Association of the Philippines for allowing us to partake in this year's forum with the theme Disaster Preparedness and Moving Forward, UNEP's Education and Community Mobilization Strategy to move forward the UN goal of disaster risk reduction in the Philippines. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority recognizes the United Nations endeavors to put forward the initiatives that are geared towards the achievement of priorities and targets for disaster risk reduction and management. One of the priority areas is to strengthen disaster risk governance by promoting collaboration and partnership. Allow me to briefly share some of the MMDA initiatives to engage with the local government units and capacity the communities on disaster preparedness. An overview, Metro Manila is treated as a special development and administrative region under the direct supervision of the President. As of 2015, the total population in the region reached 12.9 million, which further balloons to more than 50 million during daytime. It has a population density of 20,785 persons per square kilometer, which is significantly higher than the country's population density of 337 persons per square kilometer. Metro Manila's risk profile shows that it has high exposure to hydrometeorological hazards such as typhoons and flooding, as well as geological hazards such as earthquakes and liquefaction, attributed to its locations and geophysical characteristics. Metropolitan Manila Development Authority as the central planning agency of Metro Manila has the authority to exercise regulatory and supervisory functions in planning, monitoring, coordinating, and implementing Metro-wide services. MMDA also serves as the chair of the Metro Manila Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or the MMDRIMC, which develops plans and policies and implements measures related to disaster risk reduction and management for the National Capital Region. Out of the 7 mandates of MMDA, I would like to highlight public safety. Ensuring public safety requires the MMDA to formulate and implement programs, policies, and procedures on disaster preparedness, carry out rescue and relief operations, and to mobilize resources during and immediately after any calamity. Or shown in the slides are some of the contingency plans and studies prepared by the agency. The Metro Manila Earthquake Contingency Plan, or the Oplan Metro Yacal, is a contingency plan in case an earthquake hits Metro Manila. The Metro Manila Earthquake Contingency Plan, or the Oplan Metro Yacal Plus, sets in place a system of mechanism and procedures to effectively and efficiently carry out preparedness and response prior and in the event of a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. The Metro Manila Earthquake Impact Reduction Study, or MIRES, that studied various earthquake scenarios that could affect Metro Manila. And lastly, the Metro Manila Inclement Weather Preparedness and Response Plan, or Oplan ni UNOS, which is designed to respond to life and property-threatening situations caused by storms and disasters. The Metro Manila Emergency Volunteer Corps is also in place to strengthen the capacities of local government units and communities in mitigating, preparing for, responding to, and recovering from the impacts of disasters. MMDA is continuously enhancing its disaster management capabilities by building on its equipment and tools inventory. Presently, the MMDA maintains and conducts inventories of its disaster response equipment, field storage, or DREPSUs. A total of 8 DREPSUs units are strategically located close to high-risk areas in Metro Manila to make them readily available and easily accessible in the event of a natural calamities and man-made disasters. The Metro Manila Shake Drill is an annual and a region-wide activity organized by the MMDRRMC since 2015. The Metro Manila Shake Drill gauges the level of disaster awareness, preparedness, and response capacity of all stakeholders. The continued success of the event is a result of having full and active participation of stakeholders from the national and local governments, the private sector, non-government organizations, and the general public. The MMDA Public Safety Division, or the MMDA PSD, also implements the Community Hazards Information and Disaster Education Program. Under this program, several trainings and orientations on disaster risk reduction and management are conducted. The Earthquake and Landslide Search and Rescue Orientation Course, or the ELSEROC, for instance, is a program that aims to teach basic skills in post-disaster scenarios such as safety, search, rescue, and retrieval techniques. Other trainings include basic high-angle rescue techniques, disaster preparedness orientation course, basic emergency responders course, flood incident response and safety training, and the crash vehicle extrication training. The MMDA also extends its assistance to other local government units across the country. Some of the recently conducted missions were providing rescue personnel, emergency vehicles, and relief goods, both due to volcanic eruptions that occurred in Albay, Bicol, and Talisay, Batangas. Other humanitarian missions and rescue and relief operations conducted in the past were in response to the following calamities and disasters: Tropical Depression Usman in Camarines Sur and the 6.1 magnitude earthquake in Porac, Pampanga last 2019. 6.5 earthquake in Ormoc City deployed 12-man team last July 14 to 29 of 2017. Typhoon Lawin at Kalinga Province last October 23 to 28, 2016. A mercy mission in Tacloban after the onslaught of Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2016. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Nepal last May 2015. A 7.2 magnitude earthquake in Bohol last October 2013. And 6.9 magnitude earthquake in Negros Oriental last February 2012. The MMDA also implemented the Estero Blitz program, which aimed at cleaning and declogging Metro Manila's major waterways to maximize the conveyance capacity, thereby minimizing the risk of flooding in vulnerable areas in Metro Manila. The communities were actively involved in the dredging, removal, and hauling of garbage, spoils, silts, and other debris in waterways. The Manila Bay Rehabilitation Project seeks to clean Manila Bay and its vicinities through regular garbage collection, declogging, dredging, and desilting activities. The MMDA has also been conducting continuous cleanup operations of the Metro Manila waterways as part of its regular function. These initiatives are ultimately aimed at encouraging the communities to put up necessary preventive measures to reduce risk of flooding. This brings me to my last slide, just to share a few initiatives in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The MMDA has been in close coordination with the Metro Manila LGUs to facilitate the return of repatriated OFWs and locally stranded individuals, as well as to ensure the proper as the chair of the MMDREAMC and the NCR Regional Task Force for COVID-19 also led the formulation of the Rehabilitation and Recovery Plan for NCR. This has been formulated through several consultations with the Metro Manila LGUs and key stakeholders. The RRP for NCR lays out the rehabilitation and recovery strategies needed to mitigate and losses the transition to the new normal. That ends my presentation. I hope that I was able to impart knowledge on establishing partnership at the community level and capacitating them to be self-reliant yet collaborative in reducing and managing the risks of disasters. On behalf of Chairman Danilo De La Lim, thank you so much and stay safe always.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to the initiatives and responses to the COVID pandemic of the MMDA. And it is noteworthy to remember that MMDA formulated the Rehab and Recovery Plan for the NCR to mitigate losses due to this COVID pandemic. Thank you so much. Now, friends, while waiting for our last speaker to be in, I would like to give you a very interesting personality. Do you remember the Baguio earthquake in 1990? There were so many women, so many men who were down there under the grounds. And we are very happy to give you one very interesting personality who people thought was already dead underneath, under the debris. And yet, by luck or by divine help, she was able to survive the disaster. And so now she is very much involved in the COVID pandemic activities, distributing masks to different communities and conducting medical mission. She's also very much involved now in disaster reduction, and she has an advocacy on disaster rescue. Ladies and gentlemen, I am referring to none other than the beautiful chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women. Please welcome Chairperson Sandy Montano. Sandy.
Good morning. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I'm so happy to be part of this program right now. I would like to share to you my 180-degree life as a disaster, what do we call this? A resilient lady through this book, okay, this wrap. Okay, this is launched in London 2 years ago. And one of the stories that was featured here is my story. Ang title po nito ay Intensity 7. So 1990, I was a survivor of the earthquake in Baguio City. I was under the rubble. I was pronounced dead after 3 days nakuha po ako. And then it's a miracle that on the 4th and the 5th day, it rained so hard. I was in Burnham Park together with all those dead bodies covered with tela. And my heart beats. So kaya nandito po ako ngayon sa inyo. I'm so happy to listen sa lahat mga speakers natin, especially with Mr. Tolentino sa MMDA. I'm also a part of the Metro Manila Emergency Volunteer Corps. Yeah. Anyway, what have I done after, I think, 1990 to now? I think it's almost, what do we call this? 30 years of advocating disaster preparedness. So I set up the foundation, which is called Cheers, just to give relief mission at saka yung mga medical programs that we had been doing. And then 2 years after, we set up the school to formalize our teaching of the EMS, of the safety and the paramedic course. And then hindi pala ganun kadali conduct ng training, or hindi lang pala ganun kadali, lalo na sa side ko bilang babae, dahil you know for a fact that when we talk about DRR, when we talk about safety, when we talk about volunteerism on disaster, it's all men dominated. There was a time that doon pong Typhoon Haiyan, gusto ko mag-volunteer pero hindi ako priority isakay ng C-130. So, bumalik ako, isinama ko yung ibang mga kababaihan with all our ambulances. So, nag-travel po kami going to Tacloban, and the rest was history. So, I have seen that in order for us to have a bigger voice in this industry is you must have a platform. So, we have a platform now with the Cheers Foundation on our community services, on our humanitarian services, and we have a bigger platform now on the Cheers, as the school is it's Cheers Global Cheers Academy, which is also recognized na i-register na rin po natin eskwelahan sa Hong Kong, sa Singapore at saka sa Malaysia. So, ano po yung ginawa natin? Yung building partnership, ginawa po natin yon kasi we really need to work hand in hand together. If you want to walk fast, you walk alone. But if you want to walk further, you have to let's walk together. So in this kind of industry, hindi po pwedeng isa, dalawa, tatlong organisasyon yan. The more, the merrier, the much better. So it was an uphill climb for me. It was very hard. Dumating din po yung point na nung umuwi kami dito galing sa States, how many years na ang Cheers, we're trying to work it out para kahit papaano kumita siya to pay off the salary of our staff, to pay off the rent of the office. Pero ang hirap po talaga dahil I think hindi pa ready ang Pilipino noon for formal training until such time that there was this TESDA EMS, there was this DOH sa HEMS, and the rest was history. So yung gusto po namin noon na isarado yung opisina at mag-migrate na nga lang sa ibang bansa, napigilan po yun because we were able to have some partners from ASEAN countries, from APEC economies. So yun din po ang nagdala sa atin sa bigger platform para marinig po yung ating ginawa sa ibang bansa. And then right now I am the chairperson of Philippine Commission on Women, and one of the pillars, of course, our mandate is to do policy making. At sa mandato po natin na to, it's a gender equality and women empowerment. So sa atin kasi, apart ng 5 pillars ng mga priority program po ng PCW is on disaster risk reduction and management for women and children. I believe that if we empower the women and children, they will become an asset of the community. Hindi sila yung, di ba, sabi na nga natin, anong mas gusto natin, become an asset or a buwisit? Yung tipong hindi mo na nga alam ang ginagawa mo or hindi ka na nga nakakatulong, nakakadistorbo ka pa, ang dami mo pang sinasabi mga hashtag, lahat halos ng pwedeng gawin ng gobyerno, especially now with the leadership of PRRD at saka sa mga gabinete po niya, ginagawa po natin lahat yon. Kaya ang po natin is magtulungan po tayo because disaster preparedness and disaster resiliency should be the passion of every person. So disaster resilience should begin with me, should begin with you, and all the community. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much. Maraming salamat, Sandy, PCW Chairperson. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And so,
thank you, Mona. Ma'am Ramona.
Truly, it was a miracle for Sandy. And the Lord gave her another life because she was to fulfill. And so she's doing it right now. She's helping humanity. Thank you very much, Sandy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to listen to the talk insights of the president of DePaul University on integrating disaster risk reduction and management in the university's academic program. Please welcome Dr. Arnulfo Mascareñas, President, DePaul University.
Thank you very much, Madam Monette, and thank you for giving me time to be able to catch up with your program. And of course, to our participants to this webinar series of On Up, to the PCW Chair, Ms. Sandy Montano, and to my good mentor, Dr. Monette Rañeses, and to participants, good morning. Let me start by stating the obvious. The price of every disaster, natural or man-made, is truly very costly. At the onset of this troubling year, we witnessed forest fires, a disaster for people, flora, and fauna. Right now, we are facing a global health crisis, a pandemic that all of us, in our respective ways, are trying to mitigate. Ritchie and Roser published an article on natural disasters in 2014, which was consequently updated in 2019 with the following alarming data. Natural disasters kill an average of 60,000 people per year globally. Globally, disasters were responsible for 0.1%, I repeat, 0.1% of death over the past decade. This was highly variable, ranging from 0.01% to 0.4%. Death from natural disasters have seen a large decline over the past century from millions of deaths per year to an average of 60,000 over the past decade. Historically, drought and floods were the most fatal disaster events. Death from these events are now very low. The deadliest events today tend to be earthquakes. Kanina narinig natin si Chairperson Sandy narrating to us her travail during the 1990 earthquake in Baguio, wherein thousands of victims suffered from that calamity. Disasters affect those in poverty most heavily. High death tolls tend to be centered in low to middle income countries without the infrastructure to protect and respond to events. Here in Bicol region, we are not strangers to disasters. In fact, we keep on joking ourselves that we are the disaster paradise because you name it, we have it. We seemingly attract it because of our unique geography. With 2 active volcanoes, including a path that attracts and directs typhoons, about 21 of them in a year, we are a hotbed for landslides, lahar, and flood. Knowing these established facts should not just alarm us. It should, in fact, move us to do something about it. We are by far resilient because our local systems and processes have duly integrated and mainstream disaster preparedness and mitigation. Thanks to our active local government units, we have continuously been a model for disaster preparedness and mitigation in the nation. As president of the leading state university in the Bicol region, the Bicol University, and coming from an academic community, I find it extremely important that disaster risk reduction and management concepts and practices be mainstreamed or integrated into existing programs and projects of the university. Prior to my administration, Bicol University already had a DRRM manual that outlines the protocols and responses of the university if and when disaster strikes. We are actually in the process of forming a committee to revisit and review the manual for updating and further enrichment. Right now, we have just signed a MOA in partnership with Energy Development Corporation for the Binhi program, which aims to grow 96 species of trees endemic to the Philippines on an identified ground at Bicol University. Preventing or mitigating disasters, after all, I believe, involves concrete actions that are anchored on environmental protection and sustainability. The Arboretum project is one such act that is closest to our vision of a green university at the heart of Bicol University. Bicol University has also infused DRRM principles and concepts in related academic subjects so that such concepts can be made known to our students and subsequently become part of their system. I think the effective mainstreaming of DRRM should not simply be by integrating it into existing academic programs. It will serve its purpose better and more effectively when concrete actions are taken beyond the curriculum. In dealing with infrastructure development, for example, we need to ensure that the principle of resiliency is embedded in the design. Along this line, we are reevaluating our buildings and restructuring some to conform to certain standards of safety and security. But we cannot simply be complacent by mere internal mechanisms. In mitigating and managing disasters, the more network of partners an institution has, the better will it be because the existing processes and practices are either enhanced or innovated. And I think building collaborative and productive partnerships across agencies and institutions is primarily the strength of Bicol University along this area of DRRM. Bicol University's direct affiliation and active partnership with the Philippine Red Cross Albay chapter is one concrete example of maximizing partnerships. 2 years ago, we had a successful engagement, a training for our faculty with the International Committee of the Red Cross in the Philippines, which advanced its program on armed conflicts and other situations requiring humanitarian response. We all know that both these two strong institutions are the first responders in disasters and crises. By being affiliated with them and becoming their productive partners, we are able to bring a holistic face of DRRM right in the heart of an academic community. Finally, I think the most important contribution of the academe in terms of DRRM is the talent and capability of its human resource. At the onset of this COVID-19 pandemic, our team at the BU Fab Lab were able to design certain COVID-19 initiatives for our frontliners and for the Bicol University community. Now, let me go back to where I started. The price of every disaster, natural or man-made, is truly costly. But with the right response and the collective mindfulness and initiatives of a strong community, the costs are mitigated and the impact of any disaster is certainly reduced. With this, let me express my gratitude and felicitation to the men and women of the United Nations Association of the Philippines on its 73rd anniversary. Thank you and congratulations. Let us heal as one. Good morning once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Truly, we are very, very happy to Dr. Mascareñas Arnulfo for his very comprehensive, complete, clearly elucidated talk on integrating disaster preparedness in the academe or in the academic program.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you.
We truly agree with you, sir, that we are disaster paradise. We are the disaster paradise since we have become the hotbed for landslide, for lahar, and for flood. And very recently, we see that in Lopez alone, there is a great flood,
Yes.
greatly affected transportation in South Road from Manila to Bicol and back. And so we have been a model for disaster resiliency, right? And then for disaster preparedness and response, the Bicol University has integrated this in the academic program, and not only on integrating it, but more than that, they are taking concrete actions beyond the curriculum in order to mitigate disaster and to be responsive, prepared for disaster. So thank you, sir. Wonderful talk. Maraming salamat. We really
My
made
pleasure, Madam. My pleasure.
we really made it a point to wait for you. We know that you are very busy and you are engaged in so many activities. And so we gave you the leeway of coming at your most convenient time. Thank you, Sir Ali. And now, friends, we shall have the question and answer portion. And for this, may we once again give you back the Vice President for External Affairs of the United Nations Association of the Philippines to be the moderator. Lil, Professor Lilia Casanova.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mona. Now I know really what is your real nickname. It's Monet, for the first time, and I'm so pleased. I heard it from Dr. Mascareñas. It's nice. What a pretty name. So,
Lilia, may I just interrupt a while? Lilia, hi, good morning, Lilia.
yes, all right.
May I just interrupt so that I can respond before your question and answers? I can respond
Okay.
directly to our
Proceed.
to
All
Bicol
right.
University.
Let's give some time to our president, Dr. Amelu.
Dr.
Yeah,
Am-
thank you.
Amelu.
Yeah, yes, thank you very much. Mr. President, we are very excited with your challenge to us, and we want to inform you that our partnership, I think, will really be the means by which your dreams and our dreams can forge together and bring about a transformation, maybe, in the higher education. One of our stockholders, one of our strategic plan is really reinventing higher education to include the sustainable development as well as your concern with regards to risk, preparedness, and kind of disaster, uh, climate change, and all of these kinds of things that are really essential to us, the Filipinos here, who are very much unaware and who are not able to respond in the manner that you have mentioned to us. So I just wanted to reiterate that our partnership, which I'm very glad that you have agreed that we will form this kind of consortium, and all of those stakeholders who are now attending this forum, I'm sure they will join us in trying to reinvent and trying to reconstruct, but more than anything else, to forge partnership, collaboration, not only among our academics, but also with the government agencies, as well as the United Nations, who are very much interested. I believe we would like to be the flagship that will show the way. And with your experience and your vast undertaking over the years, I think now is the time for us to put that all together and invite higher education institutions to this kind of undertaking. And I'm glad that the president will now, with us, take the initiative to forge a mainstreaming activity that can make a difference in relation to these UN goals at the same time to ensure that our people will be the beneficiaries of our undertaking. Thank you very much. And I hope those of you who are listening to this is a very significant event, a milestone. It's the first step towards a long journey, but we hope with all of the higher education institutions participating, I believe we can do something together. Thank you very much. And I hope that through your intervention, we are very pleased that you allowed us to you were the venue for the rural day, the rural women, and then poverty eradication. I mean, we believe that another effort that we have is to pioneer on rural
Education, rural.
urban education. We can have ed, urban, rather than just
Urban
rural.
education,
Urban.
urban education.
Urban. We want to coin the word
Urban.
urban and urban.
Yes.
So it's
And also
urban
on food.
education with community enterprises. And that mention about disaster, of course, and all of those agriculture extension products, so that some or other we can really mainstream a new tracking rather than just limited ourselves to vocational technical, entrepreneurship, and academics. I think this is a very exciting field. And I thank you for your presence. And UNAP is quite excited, inspired by the challenge that you have bring forth to all of us. Thank you again, and good morning to all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Amelu Benitez Reyes, Dr. Amelia Lourdes Benitez Reyes, President of UNAP. It's this woman, the very energetic and dynamic woman leader, who holds the vision and provides the direction for the UNAP. Thank you very much, ma'am. And so we now go back to Professor Lilia Casanova once again as our moderator for the question and answer
Yes.
portion.
Yes, I'm here. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amelu. You know, that was some kind of message, a rather really exciting message. And I would like to add that the memorandum of understanding or memorandum of agreement that we will have with Bicol University is going to be the first memorandum of agreement with UNAP. We have so many partners in the academe, but our partnership has been quite informal. And maybe this one will become a model, because with a memorandum of agreement, we will have more concrete arrangements on what to do with our partnership. So thank you again, Dr. Mascarenhas. There's
You're
one
welcome
thing more
back.
I'd like to add about Bicol. You know, Bicol leading in DRRM. It is your governor, Governor Salceda, who built the first evacuation center in the country. And that evacuation center has become the model for all other governors and mayors all over the country. So with that, I am sure Bicol University is going to follow through all these firsts in Bicol. With our memorandum of agreement, we will be able to have that good partnership to start many good things in Bicol and for UNAP, and hopefully be model for other academic partners of UNAP. Now, let me already start the Q&A by requesting all our participants to, I know they have burning questions already or interests, you know, to share or ask for clarification further from our three panelists. So may I request our participants, please do not hesitate. And I hope that we will not be cut off, you know, by this internet magic all around us. I call it magic because it just comes in and out, you know, anytime. Like me earlier this morning, it was just cut off. And there was no storm. I live in Marikina, and every time it rains in Marikina, my internet just goes, you know, haywire. This time we have a very good fine weather, so I was very happy. But then I was cut off, so I don't understand why anymore. Anyway, so right now, there is beautiful magic around us. We have very good internet connection. So may I request our participants, I know that we have presidents here of several universities. I would like to invite you to share with us your ideas or raise a question or request a clarification from any of our three panelists. Hello? Anyone from our participants? Otherwise, I will be like a professor. I will call.
Maybe Alice has some questions to raise. Our executive secretary.
No, I just maybe I could ask something like what will you do in the case what happened to Chairman Sandy Montano?
Okay.
Immediately, what would be in your mind? What will you do right away in case it happens again?
Are you asking Sandy about it? Or are you asking?
Those speakers who can answer it, I would be glad to hear
Okay.
from them.
All right. Okay. Anyone who can answer that? Yeah, they are all, the three of them can, I'm sure, except perhaps Bicol University has not experienced any of that kind of disaster yet in their university. But I am sure MMDA is very much into it. All right.
I think there's a
And
representative from MMDA who could
our
answer also.
person from Reed. Yes, yes. So MMDA, who is, what's her name, Shirley? What do you advise, Shirley, so that we would not experience what Sandy, experienced in 1998? And not only Sandy, there was Sonia Rocco. I remember her very well, right? She was there also underneath the rubble for many days. And she was sharing her experience, saying that when she got thirsty, she drank her urine.
Yeah.
Maybe, yes, I remember that story from Sonia Rocco. So MMDA, if you are listening to us, maybe you can give us advice on how to, what to do other than drink urine. What about Jobert? Jobert Tolentino. What have you observed is happening when people get to be, victims? Physically, they're underneath rubbles, and you are trying to pull them out. That you can advise people, not to do or what to do in a situation like that. Jobert, please.
Ma'am, we are advocating the preparation for the big one actually. So if an earthquake struck or strikes, what the number one thing that we should do is think of our survival. So we can never tell kailan po mangyayari yung earthquake.
Yes.
So hindi natin maiwasan na ganitong araw hindi ako akit na kasi lilindol, hindi po natin masasabi yon. So kung nasaan man po tayo, we should always be prepared. Now, what are we going to do in case, wherever we are, in case there's a very strong earthquake? So we are advocating the drop, cover, and hold.
Okay.
No? So as long as there is the tremor, habang yumayanig pa, dapat po we go look for a cover. No? So it's drop, cover, and hold, or duck, cover, and hold. When we say duck, it means go look for a cover. So what should you cover? Yung iba kasi kino-cover yung ulo lang. No? So once we say cover your whole body. Kasi baka mamaya hindi naipit yung ulo mo, naipit naman yung katawan mo. Yeah. So what's dangerous during an earthquake are falling debris. So these debris are the ones that kill. Earthquakes doesn't kill. What kills are falling debris. No? So we should look wherever we are. We look whatever that could fall on us, and whatever cover we could have for our whole body. So that's duck or drop, cover,
right.
Hold on to your cover because there's tremor. If there's tremor, your cover might move. So if you're not holding it, baka pagtingin mo, wala na yung cover mo. So hold on to your cover. And while holding on, it also adds strength to your cover if you're holding on to it. So drop, cover, and hold. And I like the advice of a kindergarten student that we taught on how to do drills. Sabi niya, sir, dapat pala merong karugtong yung drop, cover, and hold. Next daw is, dapat daw may pray. So dapat nga, isama na pala natin yun, no? So drop, cover, hold, and pray. Habang nagtitingin ka kung saan yung yung since hindi ka rin makakaalis doon, no? Habang titingnan mo paano na piniisip mo na paano yung exit mo, because
Right.
after the tremor, that will be the time for you to move out.
Right.
Now, habang naging ganon, tama yung advice ng ating kindergarten kid, no? Sabi niya, pray. So, pray na maging matibay din yung building, no? Para makaka-exit
Right.
tayo properly pagkatapos ng tremors.
Right.
So, hope
right.
I hope
So is it safe?
your
Yeah,
question.
okay, Gilbert. So is it safe to go out of your house? If you have a one-story house, is it safe to go out of your house? Habang the buildings naman around you are falling?
So, if it depends where your house is, ma'am. So, if your house
Okay.
is beside buildings, it's better for you to find
Medyo.
a strong cover.
Is a
Because
table,
a lot of
sa office, is a table
down-
safe? Yung table ba? Office table, for example, pwede ka bang magpunta doon sa ilalim ng office
Yes, ma'am.
table?
A sturdy table will help
Help.
to cover you from falling debris.
Okay.
So, you must. Yes, ma'am. So,
Parang
what we
okay na
teach
yun.
office
Even if the table tamaan, okay pa rin. Okay pa rin. Better than diretso yung semento ng wall sa iyo.
strong enough
Okay.
to hold on
Okay.
something.
Thanks, Jobert. Yes.
May follow-up question. May follow-up question. Yeah. In times of shock,
Okay.
kasi there are some people who cannot move
Any
when they're shocked
question?
already. What do we do to the person, or as a person who was shocked, what do we do? Because sometimes we cannot move already. Of course, I know there are some whistle, you have to have a whistle, etc., the ready kit. But sometimes there are people
Yes,
when shocked, they cannot move anymore. What do we do?
Yeah.
Ma'am, not only with those people who went to shock or froze. No, we also consider the persons with disabilities, the older persons, the elderlies, those who cannot just move by themselves, especially during crisis. So, as I have advised a while ago during my talk, we should not only act when disaster strikes, we should prepare even long before the disaster strikes. So people who are persons with disability, any person that cannot move immediately in our building or in our community, we should have a mapping of those persons so that if disaster strikes, the first activity of the responders will be to look for these persons even while the disaster is happening. So while the disaster is already on the way.
Okay.
So if you're
So they are priority for assistance.
Yes, you tell your response team that in case of disaster, I might not be able to move fast. So they will put you in their victim hazard map. So there's a persons there that needs immediate attention in case disaster.
Immediate priority attention. All right.
Yes, ma'am. So
okay, I go back to our participants. Thank you, Jobert. I go back to our participants. Don't you have burning questions within you regarding the topics of our resource persons, our panelists? You know, I'm curious to hear from our.
I think there's a question from the MMDA. There's in the chat box from Liaxi Jose Villaroya.
All right. From MMDA itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a question. I would like to ask whether I don't know. I think it's not I think it's more on the presentation pala yung tinanong niya.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, it's not that.
Let's ask again from our participants. I'm particularly curious to hear from our academic partners, presidents and vice presidents of a number of universities.
Ma'am, I think Architect Florendo from Iris has a question.
Florendo. All right.
Architect
Feli?
Bonding Florendo.
Is it Dr. Feli?
Yeah, I'm with Dr. Feli po, ma'am. I'm sharing screen with her.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to
Okay.
ask.
All right.
I'd like to ask our panelists this question. Well, we know that we are preparing for catastrophes and crisis, including yung mga nangyari ngayon, pandemic and so. But after a catastrophe has stricken, there's a big possibility po for ma-experience natin yung violence, looting, anarchy. No, I just want to know if we have, or what kind of preparations are we doing for such things if it happens.
Okay, I think the most appropriate institution to answer that would be MMDA, and maybe Jobert can also answer that.
Yes, thank you po.
Definitely not our president from Bicol University, although maybe they will have their own contingency plan if that happens. So let's listen first to MMDA. Do we have a representative from MMDA who can answer the question from our UNAP colleague? Yes, this is true. You know, in the United States, this is what happens every time there's a big typhoon, hurricane in the United States. Afterwards, there's a lot of looting, right? There's a lot of criminality that happens. This is what happens during Katrina in New Orleans and in other places in California. Okay, MMDA rep, can we hear from you? Otherwise, we will hear from Jobert. Jobert, anong ginagawa niyo? May mga ganyan ba kayong contingency na pagkatapos ng disaster, may mga criminal elements who take advantage of the situation?
Yes, ma'am. Just like Yolanda, we need to secure our responders, our doctors, our even the victims themselves.
Mhm.
So it comes to preparedness.
Mhm.
So we conduct drills. What are you going to do? Where are the safe areas that you can go to? And we are actually conducting several types of drills with colleges and universities, with neighborhoods, and with offices. These drills depends on of course, the fire drill, the normal ones. When you're already good with your drills, you now do your post activity. So after disaster, what are we going to do? So we don't just finish there. So when disaster strikes, it has a continuation. So we need to we have to do the what do you call this, we have to return to normal, or the what we call in business is the business continuity plans. So in community, what are the community disaster continuity plans? How are we going to get back? Now, that's after disaster. Now, before disaster, we do train we even do in some universities, we do the bomb threat drills. We do active shooter drills. Then after that, what are you going to do after?
Sorry, Jobert. Sorry, Jobert, if I may interrupt. The question really is, yung nangyayari after ng earthquake, after ng typhoon, na maraming nagluluting.
Yes,
Yun, I
ma'am.
think that's concern of our colleague, yung kanyang question. Maraming nagluluting. Kaya nga, for example, in Marikina, Jobert, pag may evacuation na siren, hindi kaagad niya nag-evacuate yung mga tao. The reason is, nung kinausap sila ni Mayor, natatakot sila, papasukin sila na magnanakaw. Iwanan
Yes,
kasi nila ang bahay nila. So ayaw nilang sumama sa evacuation kasi pag nanakawan lang sila. So I think this is the question of Mondi here, really. Nagluluting, yung mga tindahan, alright, niluluting kasi hindi naman pwedeng bitbitin ng may-ari ng tindahan yung kanyang sari-sari store, di ba? So anong mga contingency
yes, ma'am.
measures?
That's why
How do you prepare?
very important, ma'am, yung ng It's like what sa ito recently yung pumutok yung Taal. No? So communities are evacuated. So some of them don't want to leave their homes because
Yes,
yun nga,
exactly,
pwedeng papasukin
exactly.
sila, mananakawan sila. So
Yes.
some of their
Oh, sorry, naputol. Okay, it's napuputol kayo from that end. Alice, Tom, it's not my internet. I have good internet now. I think it's, Tom, it's your end.
I think the president of the university would like to say something. He is
All
unmute.
right, okay. All right,
Yes.
okay. Dr. Mascareñas, yes,
Thank you
share
very
with
much.
us your ideas. I know that you have not experienced it in Bicol University, but maybe you have in your manual what to do in a situation like that. Yes, Dr. Mascareñas, please.
Well, we had our experience with Typhoon Riming, which is so far the
Oh, you
strongest
did.
typhoon which struck Bicol region. And from that Typhoon Riming experience was born yung DRRM for Albay. And
Mhm.
what I can share with you is our experience with the several typhoons that we had in Bicol region. That's true. Here in Bicol region, especially Albay, a day or two before a typhoon would strike our place, we already do some evacuation of people from the barangays. We move them to higher areas, we move them to the poblacion, but there is always this hesitance from among the residents from the barangays to move out because they fear that there could be some looting. So what we have done here in Albay is that we organized tanods made up of strong and able-bodied individuals
Mhm.
who would be left dun sa barangays nila and who would be keeping watch of the houses, of the properties left behind by the evacuees. And yung mga bata naman, na mga may magandang kwan, yung pangangatawan, they will also sometimes in a day, every day, they're allowed to go back to their localities to keep watch of their properties. So that has become very effective in Albay. In fact, we were able to control yung mga looting na nangyayari sa ibang lugar sa Pilipinas. And also, isang magandang, in fact, when I went to, I visited the place in Mindanao after our typhoon. And ako'y mangha because dun sa kanila, para bagang they're so helpless and they're so dependent on the LGU as compared to Bicol region, particularly Albay. Right after the typhoon, we would start attending to all those that were damaged by the typhoon. And after a day or two, you would see that the place that was destroyed by the typhoon are now cleared of debris. So that is the kind of resilience and preparedness that we have developed over the years after Riming.
In other words, you were able to mobilize the existing forces in the barangay, the tanods.
Yes, yung mga tanod, Dr. Casanova.
Yes.
You only have to mobilize them because not even policemen will be able to attend to your needs at this. Kasi lahat na nagsasuffer eh.
So it's really barangay per barangay talaga, no? Your own
I could recall in 2007 that I had to join also the local tanod in our barangay.
All right, that's very good. Thank you for that contribution. And I think the president of the Southern Luzon State University. Hello, I see him. I think yes, yes. All right. Okay, shall we put him on? Hello, Tom. President of Southern Luzon State University. I think he wants to share something or ask a question. Hello. I think this is him, right?
Kung may klase ka ng after 5 days, pwede naman work from home na rin.
Okay, is it Mr. Villa? Or is it, I don't have his name. I cannot put the face and name together. Hey, Tom, technical assistance, please. We have a president of a university. He would like to say something. Hello?
May magtanong siya direkta sa HR para siya ay masagot.
Hello?
Hindi naniniwala sa iyo.
Okay, I'm seeing him, his picture.
Okay.
Ma'am, while we're waiting for him, this is Ricky, watching all the way from the United States. This
No,
is
okay,
this is
proceed,
just a
Ricky.
reaction before we get the SLU president.
All right.
If you will see, and Dr. Noli, the way our roads are made in the Philippines, bakit tayo tingnan niyo yung mga barangay roads natin compared to the national highway. In the progressive country, kung papansinin niyo, the roads, the access, mas mataas sa mga bahay, mas mataas sa mga buildings. The Philippines should not be flooded at all because we are an island. Marami tayong outlet. Ang problema natin, pag nag-build ng roads, yung property mo, mas tataasan mo ngayon. So ang nangyayari, pag nagbaha, pag umulan ng malakas, natabunan na yung drainage, ang nangyayari, binabaha ka ngayon. Tapos, itong mga, what you call this, roads natin, dapat talaga clear yan. Kanya ang model natin yan, yung papuntang SBMA NLEX, na talagang if you rescue people, makakapag-rescue ka talaga kasi may daan. Yun yung first reaction ko na dapat i-improve Architect Mondi and Dr. Noli, yung road system natin. Dapat talaga yung papuntang Manila to Bicol, hindi binabahayan, hindi nagla-landslide yan. So kailangan talaga natin ng magagaling na mga architect dyan. And one thing I have heard, I don't know if other people have heard it, if something happens to Manila, at nag-collapse yung mga building naman, God forbid, huwag naman sana. Clark is building new government buildings na tatakbuhan natin. Na pagka may disaster, they can go there. At saka talagang kailangan palakasin po, dapat talaga yung ating mga evacuation center should really be disaster proof. Si Architect Mondi sa kanyang pag-aaral, marami ng design niya ng mga disaster proof resilient type. We really need to advocate it. Para naman ang Pilipinas, hindi maging disaster prone. And I hope the funds for the people should really be given to the people and there will be no corruption. Yun lang po yung reaction ko.
Thank you very much, Ricky. Yes, I would like to respond to that. I think he mentioned Dr. Marinas and Mondi. Mondi being an architect and Dr. Mascaris being here.
Yes, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Yes, I agree with
Yes, Dr.
Mr.
Mascaris.
Ricky, that we have to build good roads with good drainage facilities because if you visited the other countries, they have good drainage system. In fact, in one country that I visited, one truck could even pass through the drainage system. And that's one reason why they don't experience any flooding. But in the case of the Philippines, yeah, from Manila to Bicol, you don't see good drainage system. And usually there are people who build their houses along the roads, along waterways, and they're the ones contributing to the clogging of the drainage system. So I think this is a matter of enforcing measures to regulate, these people. And if we look back to our policies, there is this policy set by DNR that we have to have this easement from the river, easement from the road network, to prevent people from clogging the esteros,
Right.
etc., etc.
Right. Yes, may I add to that, Dr. Mascarenhas. Actually, all towns and cities in the country should have good town plans, comprehensive land use plans, and
Yeah.
zoning ordinances.
Yeah.
And they may have good town plans, they may have good CLUP, it's comprehensive land use plan and zoning ordinances, but the problem, as you say, is one of enforcement. There's a
Enforcement.
big difference in our country between planning and implementation and enforcement. We're good in planning, we're good in managing, but we are very poor in implementing and enforcing. And that is why the problem that Ricky has mentioned, it is true in many towns and cities in the country. Hindi pantay ang ating mga kalsada. Right? Kasi yung isang mayor, nagtayo siya ng kalsada ngayon, kalaban niya ang dating mayor, so hindi sinama ang barangay na loyal doon sa dating mayor. May mga ganon, no, na pangyayari, especially in the provinces. And even here, in parts of Manila, our drainage nasa hill na lang yung tubig and medyo mabilis mag-subside because DPWH has already put up yung mga malalaking culverts but still not complete drainage system. So medyo marami pang gagawin sa Metro Manila to have a very good drainage system and flood control.
Ma'am, can I add to that, ma'am? Ma'am Lilia, Mondi po.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Mondi, you're muted.
Hi, hello. Hello po. Ayan. Ma'am, I agree with you po. At saka medyo na highlight yung architect doon sa comment ni Sir Ricky, ano? Pero actually the idea sana is for the collaboration of all construction and development professionals. Like you po, Ma'am Lilia, I know you're a good environmental planner, no? Part din po kayo nito. Ang nangyayari po kasi sa Pilipinas kadalasan parang magkakahiwala yung trabaho ng mga construction and development professionals wherein dapat cohesive.
Meron pa alaw na kay mama, no?
No, so kung
Kumain ka na, Tites.
tayo ng ganong mentalidad na kapag mayroong isang problema na dapat ayusin, nagsasama-sama to collaborate to come up with the best solution, mas magiging po sana yun.
Absolutely.
Sa amin sa architecture,
right.
we are concerned with the structure per se, the buildings, the design of the buildings, pero yung design ng buong urban plan dapat po pinagsasama-samahan ng mga various design and construction professionals.
Right. But you know what is really the problem is behind it? It's political. We don't have a government in Metropolitan Manila, unlike before. All the mayors in Metro Manila are independent, and they don't talk to each other. There is a Metro Manila Council, but there is little coordination among them. So that is why we have a drainage system na hindi natatapos. We have roads and yung Manggahan floodway na hindi natatapos because they are in different, LGUs, all right? So yon. We should have one metropolitan, all right? Planning, metropolitan Manila plan, metropolitan drainage system, metropolitan sewage management system, metropolitan solid waste management system. Pero hindi ganyan. Kumbaga, malayo pa siguro tayo magkaroon ng ganyan na metropolitan systems. Okay. I think let's give a chance to Mr. Villa from the Southern Luzon University has been waiting to contribute something, raise a question. Yes, Mr. Frederick Villa, go ahead, please. Hello, Mr. Villa. Turn on your microphone, please, so you become audible. We see you, you are visible, but we don't hear you. Yes, Mr. Villa. Okay. Is there anyone else in the group, in among our participants?
Neil, there is a question here for Bicol University President.
All right, okay.
Somebody texted me, and I'd like to read this text message for the President.
All right.
Is there any plan of Bicol University to offer a baccalaureate or a master's degree in disaster preparedness?
Master's degree or baccalaureate?
Baccalaureate or master's degree?
Actually, Madam, we have this approved a program for DRM. So we're just trying to come up with the faculty complement to be able to offer the program.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
to get faculty
All
members
right.
qualified to handle the
Okay, well, I
Mr.
am
President,
sure.
possible?
Familia,
President,
If you,
familia.
I am sure. Yes.
I think
Yes.
we
Hi,
have
Dr.
question
Yes. Yes.
at the chat box from Dr.
Okay.
Martin Monterona. From the chat box.
Okay. I don't see it. It's a comment from, yes, from Marlene Monterona.
Yes.
All right. So, okay, may I read to everyone? A lot of attention nowadays are focused to the child-oriented disaster risk reduction approaches. But adults need to act now, since mostly the level of their preparedness is rather low. What are the suitable and the most effective forms, ways, approaches, tools for disaster education for adults? I think Dr. Mascareñas will be the first person to comment to that or answer that. All right, I think Mascareñas, as I'm saying, maybe to answer this concern, the person is asking what are the suitable and most effective forms, ways, approaches, tools for disaster education for adults. Hello, I think I'm not audible to Dr. Mascareñas. Sir, are you able to hear me? Oops, I cannot hear you. You are muted, sir. Hear you, sir. You're muted. I am sorry, Dr. Mascareñas, we cannot hear you.
dapat
You are
na-unmute.
inaudible to us.
Baka dapat na unmute. Baka hindi niya alam dapat siya mag-unmute.
Kanya nga
Nandiyan siya,
hindi
his face
tayo
eh.
naririnig.
His face eh.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, ayan na.
Hello?
Dahil nga,
Okay, okay. I have some
were you
problem
able
with my
to
internet
listen
connection
or-
again. Yung magic na sinasabi, medyo nag-magic ulit. So the question is, a lot of attention nowadays
all right, would you like me to repeat?
are focused on the
Yeah,
child-oriented disaster risk reduction approaches. But adults need to act now since mostly the level of their preparedness is rather low. What are the suitable and the most effective forms or ways, approaches, tools for disaster education for adults. So here in Bicol University, what we do is that we conduct lectures, fora in the barangay, attended by housewives, attended by farmers, and other mature learners, where we discuss these DRR approaches, how to prepare for disasters, etc., etc. We also conduct psychosocial activities in barangays for them to better understand how to cope with disasters in their localities. So in other words, we just don't focus our approaches on children, but we believe that we have to strengthen the capacity of the adults in responding and coping with disasters, so that they themselves could also be able to educate their children and the young learners. So we do that as part of our extension activity in the university.
Mr. President, I was just wondering that maybe part of our partnership, we can also design simple courses, no, that somehow or other doesn't have to have a master's or advanced courses, but maybe certification courses with TESDA in order to us to be able to spread the good news, ba? But maybe
Yes,
our
yes.
partnership can work that out, and then I'm sure everybody, almost all schools, parang they have a disaster NC1, NC2, NC3, NC4. Maybe that can assist, no? Maybe that's something that we can figure out, no? Thank you.
In fact, we have this program with the LGUs in Sorsogon, in Albay, wherein we train yung mga social workers nila and rural health workers nila to carry out these disaster preparedness activities in their barangays.
Pero syempre kami, private sector kami. So somehow or other, we also want this kind of collaboration between public and private. Kasi public, walang problema. Pero mga private, yun ang kailang concern nila today. All bodies reaching out to them on these kinds of relevant and very significant concerns and issues.
We
No?
can be your partner.
Yeah, that's
Dr.
right.
Reyes.
Our partnership can probably work on that. No? All the NGOs, all the different church areas, maraming ganyan na pwede naman, hindi lang government. Kasi government is okay. Pero kami, the other side of the sector, maybe yan ang kailangan natin. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so maybe time for us to give the summary of comments or suggestions. Madam Leal, moderator. Where is Leal? All right. So let me see. We are supposed to have now the summary of comments and suggestions. We are very happy to listen to our three panel of experts who gave their respective insights on the topics assigned to them. And we are also happy because we had a very interesting and a vibrant panel, question and answer portion. So we would like to say once again, thank you to Captain Jobert Q. Tolentino. Thank you to Brigadier General Danilo Lim. And thank you, Dr. Arnulfo Mascareñas, President of Bicol University. We know that Dr. Noli is rather busy. Another webinar is waiting for him at 1 o'clock. So once again, we say, Diyos mabalos in Bicol. Thank you very much.
Doc Mona, may I ask, there's a question, how come there is no video presented by Jobert? I think he is supposed to have a video. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Opo,
we were expecting for your video. Were you able to give it to the team, technical team?
Yes, ma'am. I already submitted it. It's given to Tom.
Would it be possible for us to have it or show it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It's with Tom, ma'am.
Okay, so Doc Mona, can we, before we leave, sayang naman yung prepare nila.
Okay, in other words, are we through? We don't have any more questions from the audience, from our participants?
Yeah.
Madam Chair, we are just waiting for the video of one of the speakers.
Are we through with our Q&A? No more questions from our participants?
No more.
So far,
Thank you very
none.
All
much,
right.
Madam.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mascareñas. Thank you very much, Jover,
evening
and
now.
thank
Very
Yeah.
welcome, ma'am. Very welcome.
Okay.
And so we will now call on the president of IRIS to give their closing remarks.
So the video will not be presented anymore?
Can we do it in the afternoon? It's almost 1 o'clock.
Okay.
almost 1 o'clock.
Yes. The president of IRIS for the
Yes. So good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This is another day filled with academic insights for all of us, to people who are dedicated and so passionate about developing disaster strategy and importantly in educating people for a community mobilization. This will guide us to move forward in consonance to the UN goal of disaster risk reduction for sustainable development here in our country. Currently, we are all facing and continuously battling a disaster that shattered humanity, the COVID pandemic. Although caught unaware and unprepared, the pandemic gave us bright ideas and opportunities to strategize schemes to move forward in spite the onslaught of the contagion. I personally believe on the importance of preparedness before being stricken by a disaster, which is likely similar to the aphorism that goes, prevention is better than cure. On behalf of the UNAP board, allow me to express my great appreciation to our speakers, a fellow educator and HUC president, Dr. Arnolfo Mascareñas, for stressing the importance of integrating disaster risk reduction management in the academic program, which I personally believe a way of educating the people to easily cope up with any cataclysm and move forward towards sustainable development. To Brigadier General Danilo Lim, represented by Director Sheila Cuenco, for emphasizing the significance of building a partnership between communities and MMDA. To mobilize local people for disaster risk reduction, which all of us will agree that in the united community, people will triumph over disaster. If mobilized wisely, and to Captain Jober Tolentino for underlining how rescue works, which is a responsible operation in any untoward incident or dangerous situations. And it is not easy to be in their shoes. And also to the Philippine Commission for Women Chair, Sandys Montano, for gracing this occasion. All these topics are relevant in today's new normal life, which is entirely different from life we used to live. This forum is indeed a right avenue to share ideas and practices imparted to us by our speakers from various national offices. But talking only theoretically without performing will be too far from reality. So I encourage everyone to respond positively to the call of moving forward. Lastly, let me share with all of you the exact words of the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who stated that we need to turn the recovery into a real opportunity to do things right for the future. Thank you for joining us, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Dr. That punctuates the morning session.
Yes, Dr. Mona, you have to read the certificates of commendation, certificates of appreciation to our resource persons. Tom,
Before reading the certificates, may I take this opportunity to invite everyone for tomorrow's webinar again to please join us at 10 a.m. We can give you the link tomorrow. Thank you. Or even today.
All right, Dr. Mona.
Yes.
Tom, can you show the certificate, please, so that Dr. Mona can read it?
Certificate of appreciation is hereby given to, okay, it's covered by the pictures on the right side. Is hereby given to Arnulfo Mascareñas in grateful acknowledgement and sincere appreciation for sharing his expertise as a resource speaker in celebration of the 75th United Nations and 73rd United Nations Association of the Philippines anniversaries during the second UNAP Stakeholders Forum with the theme Disaster Preparedness Moving Forward, held on October 23, 2020 via Zoom and Facebook, given this 23rd day of October 2020 in Manila. Signed, Lilia Casanova, Conference Chairperson, Amilo Benitez Reyes, UNAP President. So thank you very much, Dr. Arnulfo Mascareñas. Likewise, the same certificate goes to Brigadier General Danilo Lim for sharing with us his expertise as resource speaker on the topic building partnership between the communities and MMDA to mobilize local people to disaster preparedness. And the same certificate is also given to Captain Jobert Tolentino for sharing his expertise on the topic disaster making rescue operations work. Jobert Tolentino is KCR, Disaster and Emergency Responders International, or DERIN. Likewise, another certificate of appreciation is given to PCW Chairperson Sandy Montano. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say thank you very much to our resource persons, to everyone who participated in this afternoon's activity. And now,
Morning.
I should say in this morning's activity. So maybe hear from Lil. Do you have anything more to say before we put a close?
Yes, I would just like to remind one and all that we have part 2 of our celebration today. This afternoon session will be really our meeting with our partners in the academe and other sectors, our UNAP Stakeholders Forum. We will start at 2 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Lil. So ladies and gentlemen, we now punctuate this morning session of our 73rd UNAP Stakeholders Forum as we now take a lunch break and we resume at 2 o'clock until 4:30 in the afternoon for our session UNAP at 73. Good day, everyone. See you later. This is Dr. Ramona Ines Bustamante Rañez saying thank you and see you again. Bye for now. See you later.
Thank you.
Music, please.